Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well during these rough times. And if you're not, hopefully the news of football returning in some regions will probably brighten up your lockdown blues. We've got a lot to talk about on this show. The Premier League coming back and a lot of transfer rumors / transfer news, things we want to talk about with regards to the recurring theme, the recurring nightmare for some people. That is Paul Pogba. We have to talk about him because we're a United fan channel. We'll be talking about Sancho. We'll be talking about a Sancho alternative as well. We'll be talking about the prospect of Jack Grealish coming. We've got to talk about these things because the prospect of players coming to the club is so uncertain at the moment because of what's going on in the world. Obviously, joining me is Rita and Shawnee as usual. So please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe. But we will start with the Premier League. And I must say, this argument can become very corrosive at times. It can become very toxic. And as a channel, we're not going to entertain corrosive and toxic arguments. Look, people are dying in the world every day. I know that. But you know what else people are dying from? Cancer, influenza, other diseases. There's lots of other diseases that people are dying from, and they can't get the necessary treatment that they need if they're in lockdown. Social abuse, social anxiety and disorders, mental illness is suffering because of this lockdown. People are stuck inside the house, and that is not a healthy situation. We're fighting one virus, but we're letting all the other viruses, diseases, illnesses get to us. And I just think this whole argument of whether football should return or shouldn't return based on safety is a bit childish. It's a bit immature. We're going to have to go back to normality eventually, and I hope we don't offend anyone. Dare I say this? I hope we don't offend anyone by talking about the Premier League. So Premier League coming back. Are you guys excited?
Boy, I cannot express how excited I am. You know, supposedly Monday is training, and then June 1st is when they want to restart it. And yeah, I'm ready to go. You know, give Liverpool a title, it's fine. You know, empty stadium, they can lift it. I don't give a fuck. I'm just excited for football to be back and watching United again. I really hope it comes back soon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can go.
No, I've been a bit disconnected. So how official is it? Is it like?
Yeah,
Officials from like Sky Sports, Daily Mirror, you know, everyone's talking about. The UK government has given permission for them to do it.
It's definitely because the Bundesliga is coming back this weekend. The Premier League is definitely coming back next month. The thing is, though, things can change because of where we're at in the world at the moment. You know, if an infection rate goes up insanely quickly, that could change things. But all I would say about the Premier League coming back is that I think we will at least see 2 or 3 games from each of our teams. Worst case scenario, the season will get suspended again. But I definitely do think we'll see some football come back because Germany are set on doing it. There might be a few issues. Like I was telling Shawnee this before we aired on the show, that imagine people start gathering around the stadiums and start breaking lockdown rules because, you know, that's how people are. And if you think I'm pulling this out my arse, I'm not. This happened when PSG and Dortmund were playing behind closed doors. There was like 1,000 PSG fans outside the stadium when PSG won. And that's obviously not allowed because of social distancing. So it'll be interesting to see how the authorities handle that sort of thing, if it does come, because they're not going to be playing at a neutral venue, by the way. It's going to go as normal, just behind closed doors. I heard, I'm not sure if this is the Bundesliga or the Premier League, but I heard a minimum of 300 people allowed inside the stadium.
Bundesliga.
So yeah. I don't know if that includes fans or not, but I'm guessing that includes staff. Yeah, so
Isn't it 300
it'll be
fans?
interesting.
I think it's 300 fans.
I'm not sure. But
Yeah, look,
what fans get access to the stadium, though?
and that's what I was asking Shuni before we went live.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
very strange. What fans? Because I can imagine fan channels will get privileged access, just like the United fan got access to the last game in where was it? Austria. I think it was Austria.
Wherever Lask
The team that we played in the Europa
is.
League.
Wherever Lask is, guys. I don't know where Lask is.
I think it's in Austria because I remember Flex doing a show there and being the one of the only ones in the stadium. But anyways, yeah, look, so it will be interesting to see. But we're not here to debate the morality of football coming back, nor the social distancing rules. We're here to talk about the football, man. And what does this mean for United? It's a mini season. We always knew that no matter what happened this season, when Pogba and Rashford came back with Bruno, this team was going to be a lot better. So where are you at with United potentially making top 4?
Oh, look, there's the table there. The table. We are 5th. We have how many points behind? We're 1 win.
We're 1 point behind Chelsea.
And the first game we would play back is Tottenham and Jose Mourinho.
Yeah,
And
we'll do a preview on that, so I don't want to talk about that too much. We'll do a
yeah,
preview
but
on that.
yeah, that would be our first game back after a long time. And yeah, you know what? I think Pogba back, Rashford back, everyone's fitness is back. Well, not full, but no, there's no injuries, and it's just whether or not players decide to train and want to play. But you know, from a United standpoint, I think our players will play. So I think top four is definitely in our reach, and I think we can 100% get it. I think if the season has to resume, United are in probably the best position.
Yeah, I agree. So I know you don't want to talk about the game too much, but with our full squad, I don't see Jose touching us. I think we'll cruise right through him. Maybe I hope I don't regret saying that. But yeah, I think we have a good thing going. We have a powerful front three. Midfield is looking solid. I think matches the base, and Bruno and Pogba is what we're hoping to see. And I think with the games we have left, I think we can definitely make top four. And with it being behind closed doors, I don't trust Chelsea, honestly. I don't think they're complete enough. I think they're a bit vulnerable, especially at the back. And I think we have more of a complete team to handle the pressures of not playing with fans.
True. I think not having fans at the stadium kind of benefits this United team, but I don't know. It's difficult to say because this is a very short time. There's a lot that goes into these games, like whether or not the players will actually be match fit and sharp and ready to play at a high level when the time comes, right? Like we don't know if everybody's going to be 100% sharp. They've been off for a very long time, and doing gym work and running in the treadmill, it doesn't compare to playing a game of football for 90 minutes. Yeah. You know, the fitness element of it isn't all you need.
Because when I went out, like, you know, just a quick off topic, when I went out for a run the one day, I nearly died. I thought I was dead. I couldn't believe how bad it was. Because it was the first time, like, I could actually use those muscles properly and exercise, and it was ridiculous how unfit it was.
Yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see, man. We'll just have to wait and see. Moving on to some of the transfer news. There's a lot to talk about with regards to the transfers, and you know, you said something about our squad being good. I want to talk about a bit about Manchester United squad. Do you think that beyond this season, if the market, like we don't know what's going to happen with the market, so it's difficult for me to phrase this question. We don't know if players are going to. We know that players are going to be extremely cheap in the summer, but we don't know when the time will come when teams will spend money. Because God forbid we don't get any Premier League football or the season doesn't get finished again for whatever reason. Do you think Manchester United will still make certain purchases? Because then everyone's at a disadvantage.
I think from a United point, I think United could definitely still make the purchases, whether it's good or bad. I think no matter what happens, I think United could still buy Jadon Sancho for a price that they were initially asking for. But whether or not they will, I don't know, because you know, I don't know how the Glazers and our owners will see the whole new situation. I don't know what impact it's going to have on them. But from United's point, I think there shouldn't really be an excuse not to get the deals we wanted done.
I think just to respond to that, I think United will try wait until the market is a bit more stable, because with our owners, we know they don't want to overpay. And the thing is, right, United is in a very good position financially. I'm not going to deny that compared to other teams. But if football doesn't come back, they're going to lose a lot of money still. And I don't see Ed Woodward and the Glazers spending 100 million on a player when they could get him for 30, 40, 50, you know. Yeah. Especially if nobody else is spending. That's the key part. If nobody else in the market is spending, that's the key part.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah, like it goes both ways, isn't it? Marx is right in saying that they are risking losing other money because of the uncertainty. But at the same time, this is a big advantage. This is something we're never going to get again. There's going to be teams like Liverpool who won't be able to move forward. And now we have a chance to close the gap in a market that's cheaper than it usually would be. So if we were looking to get back to the top, we should try. One can say we should try to use the advantage.
Let me ask you this then. No football, Premier League gets suspended again, season gets voided, just a scenario, hypothetically. Do you still buy Sancho at Manchester United, regardless of the price? Are you still spending money on 4 or 5 players? Or are you saying... sorry?
That's what I'm saying, it's two ways. That's what I'm saying, there's an element of risk to it. So in that situation, no, it would be stupid.
Oh, so you wouldn't spend any money if football didn't come back?
No.
Okay, interesting. What do you think, Johnny? Would you still buy Sancho if football doesn't come back?
before I close this, or I would maybe just buy Sancho and just rest and leave it there if we
Just
can
by
afford it.
Sancho.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was thinking about it. If this season had to get cancelled and there is a further delay, I'm just wondering, I would buy Sancho if like the next season is a guaranteed. Like, if there was some sort of guarantee that no, this will be done and we will play that season, then I would get Sancho. But if there's no guarantee and they say, we just gotta judge it by how it comes, I would lay off Sancho for now.
And that's a good point because you don't know when it's coming back.
Yeah, and also I would also add that you don't know how this break is going to affect everyone. Like, Sancho was in great form, great, but the reason why he was in great form, I mean, he's an amazing player and he has a lot of talent, but I think along with everyone, breaks can ruin players' careers. We've seen this before in the past, not with a pandemic breaking out, but a basic preseason break or at the end of the season, a player goes on to the next season and has a complete flop. I mean, Lingard's the best example. And I know a lot of people will say, yeah, but the team around him changed, blah, blah, blah. I get it. And it's not that simple. But the point I'm trying to make is this break will have massive effects on a lot of players. And whether or not they will play as well as they were before the break started is a huge question mark for me. Because there's an argument going around the United community about whether or not we should keep Ighalo. And I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people because a lot of people like Ighalo now. And I'm saying I haven't seen enough of Ighalo yet to say that I want to keep him long-term as a Manchester United striker because he only played 3 or 4 games. For me, that's not enough for any player to judge and say, hey, let's keep him. With Bruno, he's only been here for 4 or 5 games, but I know about Bruno's history from Sporting. I know what Bruno's about even before he came to United. So I have better judgment. I only started watching Ighalo when he got here, and who's to say he wouldn't have fell off the wagon, for example, in
Personally,
the next few games.
On that matter, I just think there's other priorities. And I don't want a striker being another one as well. As much as we need goals, I feel like a CDM, another midfielder, and a right winger is a bit higher on the priority list. So I'd rather keep.
Yeah, but the reason why the
yeah.
Ighalo thing is the debate is because he's here on loan. That's the thing. So people are saying if you don't know, I'm going to fill you in now on the show. Ighalo's team want him to go back to China, and the only way he stays at Manchester United is if Manchester United purchase him long term. Manchester United are saying, no, we want to keep him till the end of the loan so that we can make a better informed decision in the summer. And that's the conflict that's happening between the two clubs at the moment. So the argument is, does United then say, okay, we'll commit to this guy long term and we'll take him off your hands? Or do they say, no, go back to China, sod it, we'll find someone else? That's where the debate is coming from.
Yeah, now if it was me personally, I would still keep Ighalo. Because, one, I have full faith in Martial. And I think Ighalo being there will also be great for Greenwood because we've seen how great Greenwood has developed this season. And for me, even before Ighalo was here, the striking position, we needed more depth, but I didn't want to go spend big on like a Werner or Harry Kane or some other, or like a Dembele. I still didn't. Or even when we were mentioned with Haaland, I was like, I didn't really want Haaland because I have faith in our strikers that we have now.
So why pay 200 quid a week for Ighalo? Because if we do buy him, his wages are probably going to go up. This is a loan deal. That's why we were able to get him so cheap. If we do purchase him long term, we're going to have to spend like 15 to 20 million pounds to get him here firstly. And then we're going to have him on 200k per week when we could have someone like Haaland, funny enough, for less, on less wages.
No, I think this guy must be willing to take a pay cut though.
He will be, but I don't know if he'd be willing to take a 300k pay cut for a long-term deal. For the loan, he was willing to do it because that's a short-term thing, and that makes sense. And
then it depends.
You see, that's the problem with Ighalo.
It depends.
That's the problem with Ighalo.
If we're overpaying, then it's not worth it. Then we should go and find another striker who's young and can do the job better than Ighalo. So it depends where his priorities are.
I think United are going to overpay because that's what they've done. I mean, we have someone who's on 400k per week who barely plays. So, if you're asking me, I think United are going to overpay if they keep Ighalo because that's what United do. I don't think... Sorry, yeah?
For some reason, we seem to prefer to pay higher wages than go out and pay 40 million, which doesn't really add up to me.
It's to lure good talent into the club. And again, that's why I'm saying I don't think I've seen enough for Ighalo to come here and have him sit on 200k per week, especially if he's just going to be a bench player to Martial. And if he's going to teach Greenwood so many amazing tricks and make Greenwood such an amazing player, Greenwood has got Ollie for that. And we could get someone else who's younger and more experienced and has actually won a lot of trophies. No offense to Ighalo. I feel like Greenwood could learn a lot more from strikers who have a much higher pedigree. But
I think if
that's
we buy
just
a
my 2
striker,
cents.
though, I think if we buy a striker like that, I don't think they would be fair on Martial, because I think it'll bench Martial straight away. If we get to get
Look.
like a Harry Kane or Musa Dembele.
Look,
but
if the strikers bring goals, I don't care, honestly. Yes, I have had my doubts on Martial, and I've voiced that. I think if you bring in a Werner, it's going to test him, and let's see what he's made of.
Well, okay, I think we're sidetracking now because the whole debate about a striker started with Igalo. And if you're going to bring other players into the mix, I just think, no, let's keep Martial, let's keep Greenwood and see how they go. Because if we seriously overpay for Werner, Harry Kane, whoever we bring in the market, I feel like there's just other priorities in the team. Like, I don't think we should go out and spend on another striker with the state that the world is in at the moment. I really don't think we should be buying another striker. I think we should just stick with Tony and Greenwood and then get someone who can play in all 3 roles up front, who is versatile, like Sancho.
Yep.
Like, we shouldn't go and buy a specialist number 9 just to test Martial in this kind of climate. Like, I think that's a bit short-sighted on United's part if they were to do it, unless it was a ridiculously cheap deal.
But part of me also still thinks, going back on Igalo, part of me thinks that, he loves this club so much that he could actually be willing to take a major pay cut.
You probably would be. You probably would be, and you're probably right, but we don't know that for sure. And I just think with the whole Igalo thing, at the end of the day, I personally still haven't seen enough. So even if there's people are ignoring the possibility that we could sign Igalo, he could be extremely cheap, but he could be crap. Like, he's 31 years old. He was unfit when he came to United, and he was struggling. You could actually see he was struggling. He was very heavy. He hasn't played football now for 3 months when he was in China, and he hasn't played football for has it been a month now or 2 months now? So in a year already, this guy's taken in the space of a year, this guy's only played 4 or 5 games, and he came off the bench for Manchester United against Europa League teams. I don't know if that's a good indication of a long-term backup option for Martial in the first place. I just haven't seen enough, and this guy's getting old. People are forgetting that as well. Yeah. He's aging while he's sitting on the touchline. He's aging during this COVID thing as we speak.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Longer than next season, I'm also not completely sure, and I think next season can be a time for us to judge him. But I feel like if we are going to deal with this problem, it's probably the best market to do it in. If we have the money, we'll get a Werner.
Yeah, definitely. Igalo's not going to get better. That's the thing. Igalo's not going to get better. He's old now. He's going to get worse with time, most likely, because very few players get better with age. Not everybody's wine. But anyways, we have to talk about Pogba in all of this. We have to talk about Pogba. First of all, I personally don't think Pogba's leaving anytime soon because I don't think anybody's going to buy him and I don't think anybody can pay his wages. But I think what's more interesting is to discuss is, I know Shawnee's still Pogba in, but where are you with Pogba? Because I feel like people's emotions on Pogba change by the week. And I'll start by answering that question. I think Pogba's a phenomenal player, obviously. I think on his day, he's really good and he helps Manchester United. Manchester United with Pogba is better than Manchester United without Pogba. However, I don't think Pogba staying here just to ride out his contract helps us at all. I really don't. I think we have Bruno. We don't need Pogba on the field now to make us better. We've got Bruno. We've seen what Bruno can do, and we've seen that we don't need Pogba. Well, at least I've seen. I don't know if other people agree. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to be sitting here listening to rumors about Madrid, about Pogba going to Madrid and Juventus for another year. I'm getting sick and tired of it, and it's really getting old. And number three, I just think unless I hear Pogba come out, and I was telling this to Shawnee, I think if Pogba would do himself a huge service if he actually came out himself and said, hey, I'm staying at United for the next 3 or 4 years, no matter what. He's never publicly said that enough for me to convince myself that this guy actually wants to be here. Whether or not he likes Manchester United is irrelevant. Is his long-term future committed to Pogba? Because I think when Pogba's committed to something, he's really good, When Pogba wants to be at a place and he wants to play football, this guy was man of the match in the World Cup final. So I think the only Pogba I want at United is a Pogba who wants to stay here and believes in the project. Otherwise, he really needs to go. Where are you with Pogba?
Jenny, do you want to go first?
Oh no, you know where I am with Pogba.
I know where Shani is. He's Pogba.
Okay,
all the
okay. Look, I don't think he's gonna leave. So I think we will get to see what it could be, and we will get to see him play with Bruno. But in a scenario where he wants to leave, and Madrid are willing to pay up the money, he must go. Honestly,
He does want to leave.
Yeah, it's been dragging on for too long. It's too much
He
drama.
does want to leave.
Yeah, and as you said, we don't really need him. I mean, we showed that we could do it, and we're playing with one attacking midfielder, and we showed that we can survive. We use the money we get from him, and we buy a Grealish or something, and we'll survive. We don't really need Paul Pogba. And it's just created a whole toxicity at the club, which is unnecessary.
Because this guy, yeah, he's going to wait until his contract runs down, right? And the only reason this guy will sign, if his contract runs down, his current contract runs down at the end of next season, that does not help United in any way. Because first of all, he goes for cheap, and he goes somewhere, and we don't get the proper money for him. Second of all, we're not getting the best version of Pogba because he doesn't want to be here anyways, according to his agent. And like, it just doesn't help anyone. So I just think Pogba needs to commit to United now for me to be behind him 100%, because I don't want a half-hearted Pogba who's just going to leave in the summer for half price anyways. What's the point? That's not what we're trying to build.
We all love Pogba, but I think the club comes first here.
Yeah, I like Pogba, but if Pogba doesn't like my club, what must I do? You know? And when I say Pogba doesn't like the club, I don't mean he's not a fan of Manchester United. When I say Pogba doesn't like the club, don't twist my words. I mean he doesn't want to be here. And if you are arguing that he doesn't want to be here, then what is all this nonsense about in the media with him wanting to leave? Because it's coming from Mino Raiola. And Mino Raiola, for me, is Pogba's voice. Because whenever Mino Raiola has something positive to say, we associate it with Pogba. But whenever Mino Raiola has something negative to say, then all of a sudden we're saying it's just him. It's like, no, I think it's Pogba as well. If this guy wanted to stay at United, why didn't he just come out and publicly say it more often?
Mino Raiola wouldn't just talk. He's Pogba's agent. He does Pogba's bidding. He wouldn't just say things against Pogba's will.
Exactly. And he's just become very corrosive and toxic. Not because Pogba's a toxic person, not because Pogba's a virus, but Pogba being here has become very toxic because his future's so uncertain, and he's built himself a golden cage. And I just think he's got to go. But with that said, if Pogba does stay, do you really think we're getting Grealish? Because if the answer to that is yes, where does Grealish fit into this Manchester United team when you've got Pogba who can't get dropped and Bruno who's amazing?
I would still sign Grealish, and if he has to play off the bench, he has to. But I think he'll play lots of games too. I think Grealish will definitely give Pogba or Bruno a rest in lots of cup games. Maybe if we're in the Europa League, we play in all of those things. And I think if an injury happens, Grealish is perfect. I wouldn't miss a Pogba or Bruno if Grealish had to come on and play at that time if they're injured or they're resting or anything. I think Grealish would be amazing, squad depth-wise, or even first team. It's just he can do everything.
Unlike Sancho, he doesn't cost 100 million.
Yeah, and he doesn't cost.
I think Grealish should decide how much he really wants to go to a big club. And there are other big clubs in the league that will start him, like a Chelsea. So it's in his hands. But at United, Pogba's better than him, Bruno's better than him. It has to be from the bench.
Look, I think if Pogba did leave, long-term Grealish is the man. Now, honestly, I do think that works for everyone because Grealish gets to develop his career.
Definitely.
And we get to build something long-term. So, I would rather we got rid of Pogba, we got Grealish. We got someone like Jude Bellingham in the bottom left corner of that poster right there. Jude Bellingham, what a player, by the way. We'll get to him in a sec. But yeah, I don't know. He would play a lot of games, but I don't know if that's the best for him.
Him on the bench.
And be a bench warmer. Yeah, I don't know if that's the move. But I mean, whatever happens, the thing is, right? Let me put a scenario in your head. Grealish comes to Old Trafford. Grealish has a bad first season, and he doesn't play that many games, or he doesn't play games against the good teams because of Pogba and Bruno, right? I think that's very damaging to his career because whereas if he goes to Chelsea and he gets more consistent games and he has a chance to correct that bad form or that bad start or whatever it is, he can actually, there's less risk element involved if he goes to a team where he'll actually play week in, week out. Where if he's just playing on Thursday nights and the occasional Carabao Cup if we stay in the tournament, I just think there's so much risk. I've seen so many players get their careers run down into the ground at United. So I'm not just saying this to be Debbie Downer.
I feel like it's not a reason not to sign a player. I think it's down to man management. And that'll be down to Ole and how he manages his players. I mean, look at Man City and Pep. Look at the players on the bench. I mean, Mahrez.
Yeah, definitely.
Former PSG
I am going on Oli. I am going on Oli because Andre Gomez is a talent who hasn't played this season at all. Not really. He hasn't really been given a chance. And Andrew, that's a year of the player's career gone to waste. I'm afraid of the same thing happening. And I'm not saying Grealish, the same thing will happen to Grealish, but let me put a scenario in your head. Andre Gomez only playing 1 or 2 games in the first team, for me, is the equivalent of Grealish coming to Old Trafford and only playing 25% of the games. It really is. Because Grealish playing well against Astana or against AZ Alkmaar, it means just as much as Gomez not starting. I don't know if that makes sense.
I think he'll play
Gomez is
more
obviously-
because he'll be coming off the bench pretty much every game.
Yeah, I think.
I don't
that as
know
well.
about that. I don't know about that because this guy seems to love Lingard and Pereira. I don't know about that. I really
Lingard
don't know
Pereira?
about that. This Ole Gunnar Solskjaer loves Lingard and Pereira. And
I think the situation with Grealish is they're gone. They're out. Like, if they're still
No, I
there,
think we have to get Grealish done with Lingard.
they're still there.
I don't know about that.
Don't
I don't know
agree.
about that. I agree with you guys, but I don't know about that because I've watched the Manchester United I know and the Manchester United I watch week in, week out doesn't know who's talented and who's not talented. The Manchester United I watch doesn't know how to manage players. The Manchester United I watch doesn't give players chances. So
But
you guys are
George-
right, but the Manchester United I watch plays Lingard every week.
Yeah,
I
but
think-
towards the end of the season, Oli did come out and say, you know what, Lingard has had his chances also, and we have seen that he hasn't been playing Lingard as much or at all towards the end of the season and before the season got stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but
they've
that's
been
because
dropped in the
Bruno
last few
came.
weeks. I
that's
think
because Bruno came.
we'll see one of them on the bench. And personally, looking at the two players, let's say Grealish and Lingard, Grealish is definitely way more talented, so he'll play more. Ole's not stupid.
I don't
don't
think
know.
he's that stupid.
I don't think he's that stupid either, but I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, Oli makes the right decision
For me,
because
the ideal
when a
scenario
player-
would be,
yeah.
I would say the ideal scenario for me would be is if, Pogba committed his future here, said, I'm going to stay at United, 5-year contract, Sancho comes and we get Grealish. That's the ideal situation for me.
That would be perfect, mate. But I've watched players like Griezmann, I've watched players like Coutinho, and I've watched players like Sanchez all go to big clubs, start badly, and then never get picked again. I've seen that happen live and in HD. Players who clearly have talents that didn't just go anywhere, that didn't just vanish, or seemingly vanished, and they just never got given a chance again. I could probably name more, but I'm struggling to think of better examples because I don't want to make examples with United players. There's been a lot of big names that have come to Old Trafford that just haven't been given the chance. I mean, at least Fred and McTominay are the positives of the season. Like when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got here, he actually gave them game time, and look at how long it took Fred to become good. But under Mourinho, Fred didn't play. And all I'm saying is if Grealish doesn't get off to a flying start at Old Trafford, I wouldn't be shocked if Grealish gets thrown to the wolves, because I've seen it happen time and time again, where a big name signing who's on the rise goes to a team, doesn't start out well, and he sits in the shadows of someone else. And whilst that other player is playing, whoever it may be, he's just sitting on the bench, training with the first team, sitting on the bench, training with the first team. A year later, you've forgotten how good the guy is, and his only chance of starting is either leaving the club or a new manager coming in. I've seen it time and time again, and I'm not saying it will happen with Grealish, but the Manchester United I watch ruins players' careers.
Look,
And I
That's
hope
true.
that's not the case with
it
Grealish.
does happen a lot, but I trust Ole in that regard. I think if he believes in the player, he's going to give him the chance. In terms of man management, yes, I do question him. And we've seen clubs like Liverpool and Klopp where he doesn't really buy stars on the bench. He buys someone like average players and builds them into something and has his first team that will play game in, game out. So I don't know if that's the route Ole should go. I don't know.
I don't know, bro. We'll see. But I'm not saying that will 100% happen. I'm just saying if it does happen, I wouldn't be shocked. And look, whatever happens with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I hope he's able to learn from his mistakes. The Lingard and Pereira thing can't happen again. We can't have, and not just specifically with Lingard and Pereira, with any player. A player cannot start week in, week out if they're not playing well, you know?
Yeah.
I would argue players shouldn't start week in, week out, but that's another debate for another day. You know, Mourinho won a title doing it, so who am I who am I to judge managers who pick the same starting 11?
I feel like
every
that
day?
will always happen. You have your starting 11 that gets you over the line, and then the rest are just players who come in when someone's in.
Yeah, you know
It'll
what,
always
but you know what I mean. Like I mean managers who play the exact same starting 11
that's
from
ridiculous.
game 1 to game number 38. Mourinho did that and won a title doing that. Like John Terry played every minute for Chelsea when Mourinho won the title. So, and I know not many managers nowadays really do that, but that's what I was getting at. I think if that like I don't agree with that happening, but you know, if it happens, it is what it is. I'm not the one managing the team. But look, hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully I get proven wrong. Hopefully Grealish does come here. Hopefully we do spend
I
money
really hope
in this market,
Grealish.
and hopefully we actually do. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does learn from his mistakes. I think if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does get the right players, and he does learn from his mistakes, he could be a force to reckon with. I genuinely believe that.
With Lingard and Pereira, I think honestly it's because he didn't have other players. I doubt he would have played them game in, game out if he had other options.
But the Gomez was there, though. You know, like Gomez was there, and I'm not saying Gomez was actually. Screw it. I am saying it. Gomez is better than Lingard and Pereira. Gomez is better than Lingard and Pereira. Gomez has more natural ability as a footballer than Lingard and
My
Pereira.
right shoe
Gomez
is
is
better
more of a
than
leader.
Lingard.
Gomez is more of a leader than Pereira is. Gomez has more backbone than Pereira is. Gomez is a more intelligent footballer than Pereira is. Maybe Gomez can't do the Brazilian samba like Pereira, and he doesn't have a Brazilian passport, but that means nothing when it comes down to the intelligence of it. I've watched Pereira score worldies, but he does it once in a blue moon, fam. I would rather have someone who's intelligent and knows what to do with the ball. The few minutes I watched Gomez in that season, I was like, that's an instant improvement over Lingard and Pereira. And I just think that, look, first of all, if Lingard and Pereira were so trash, let's not forget Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could have just changed the tactics. Let's not forget that. He could have just changed the tactics. He could have played a different system. There's so many things that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could have done differently to avoid playing counter-attacking football and having Jesse Lingard at the head or at the pin of that attack, right?
I feel like he was trying to avoid. I think he has this idea of a blueprint of how he wants United to play, and he's thought that he's going to lay the foundation and build on the foundation no matter what happens.
No, and I respect that. I respect that, but I'm saying that's not an excuse, right? Like, he could have changed the tactics if the players he had didn't fit that blueprint. He could have changed the attacking tactics at the very least if the players didn't fit that blueprint. Why he didn't do so, we'll never know. And I don't care if he doesn't change the blueprint as long as it works when he gets the right players. Like I've got no grudges with that. I'm just saying, I'm not gonna listen to anyone defend Ole Gunnar Solskjaer by selecting Lingard and Pereira when Gomez was there. Gomez was there. Heck, even Mata was there. I know Mata doesn't have the legs, but he was far more productive
He tried
when he played with those two idiots. Yeah,
I agree.
So look, whatever happens with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I will never forgive him for selecting Lingard and Pereira, unless he wins a title, then I'll forgive him. But for selecting Lingard and Pereira game in, game out, there's no excuse for that. That cannot happen. Like, it really can't happen with any player. But yeah, speaking of youngsters, since Gomez came to the topic, what do you think of Jude Bellingham? Do you know anything about him? Do you think he should come to United?
I like him. I know about him. I know that he could be one of the best players in the future. So I want him at United only if the financial situation is right and he goes
I think
alone.
he's cheap, though. I think he's really cheap.
I think if he goes alone. I don't want him on the bench or to play first team yet. If I buy him, I have to put him on loan.
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely.
I don't know. I think
Especially if we get those other three guys. Like if Pogba stays, we get Grealish and Asensio. No.
if with too many people on the bench, yeah, send him out on loan. But how many games is he playing in the championship?
33.
Playing,
I had
like,
an
yeah.
insane stats. For a person who's playing that many games, I'd rather have him on the
16
bench.
years old even.
Yeah, I'd rather have him on the
16
bench than Lingard, honestly.
Rita, I honestly agree. I think I completely understand the argument of sending him out on loan, and I think you should always do that with young players, except in this case. This guy is a guy who's actually played in the championship. He's played a lot of games. He's shown that he is quite a talented player. What I don't want to happen is what's happening to Rashford. I don't want him to get overplayed. Or like with Dan James. I don't want him to get overplayed. That's not what I want for this guy. And also, I would rather he went out on loan than sat and trained with the first team and only played 10 games in a season. Like, come on now. What's the point of playing 33 games in the championship if you're just going to come and sit and train with the first team?
Yeah.
Like, there's no point. Oh, I'm training with the first team. I'm training with the first team.
I don't
Getting
think
so
he's
much
the type
valuable
of
experience.
player that will get a lot of appearances off the bench or even in cup games. I still think he will be struggling on the bench if he comes to United.
I'm not bothered about him struggling because I think any young player who comes to United does tend to struggle, except the very rare few. I mean, bar Rashford and Greenwood, which young players just came and blossomed from day one in the last 3 or 4 years? You know, the young players take time to develop, and that's understandable. So I wouldn't mind watching Jude Bellingham struggle for a season or two to find his feet in cup games that didn't matter, right? All I'm saying is I would rather he did that somewhere else for his own personal benefit than at United, because I feel like why struggle for 10 games a season for the next 2 or 3 years? Because he's so young as well. He's a teenager. So it's going to be a long time before he actually blossoms into anything that we can use. And I just think he'd be doing himself a massive favor if he just went somewhere else where he'd get played a lot more. Just not overplayed, hopefully.
Yeah.
But this whole thing of I'm training with the first team, like training really doesn't mean much. You're just doing drills, running around cones. And really, as Mark Goldbridge said in the United Stand, those guys are only working at 75, 70%, sometimes even 50% at the training grounds. If you go to a training ground around the world and watch any team, you actually go and watch United, you'll see worldies scored, fam. You'll see rainbow flips and you'll see cricketers
when we
and
train,
dragbacks.
we do shots from like halfway line, even
you'll see worldies get scored, and then turn on the television on game night.
I'll do a Rabona, it'll hit the crossbar and go in. And
like training doesn't help because people aren't as serious in training. Not all teams, at least. You know, if he was training under Pep Guardiola or someone like that, where he was actually learning how to become the next Sergio Busquets or the next Andres Iniesta, you know, and maybe working with Michael Carrick for him is a great thing, but I don't know.
Please respect Carrick.
Yeah, please respect Carrick. Please respect Carrick. Please respect Carrick.
I respect him as a coach. I'm not sure yet.
But you don't know how good Carrick is one-on-one because, like, I don't want to hash a debate here, but we don't know how good Carrick is one-on-one yet because we haven't really had young midfielders that we can assess their progress on. Besides McTominay, if you want to count that, McTominay's gotten better. Who's responsible for that? Yeah. You know, so I don't think Carrick has had the opportunity. A lot of people say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a good coach man on man because of what he's done with Martial and Greenwood and Rashford. So I think
is what might cloud people's judgment because he's the assistant coach, isn't he? Or the third assistant coach.
Who? Carrick?
Yeah. What position does he have at the club? I think it's
I don't know what position he has. But yes, that's what I'm saying. People are judging him based on what our team has done in the middle of the park this season. That's how I judge him. And I'm like, yeah, that's fair. If you're saying as a midfield coach he sucks because we can't hold the ball to save our lives, that's okay. But man on man, we haven't really seen evidence of that because he hasn't really had the chance to rub it off. Like, you can't teach Fred anything, really. You can teach Fred things that he could change and tweak about his gameplay, but Fred is not a prodigy. He's an experienced player who's already blossomed. And, you know, Fred, what you get with Fred now is
Carrick
what you're
is not going to make Fred
career.
into how Carrick was in his prime.
Yes, exactly. That's my point. So maybe the only glimmer of hope with Jude Bellingham coming to United before and not going out on loan is working with Michael Carrick and a few other players. But I don't know. He's just got so much time on his hands that he could do that later in his career anyways. But I actually wanted to talk about the guy. There's Manchester United reportedly, according to The Sun, are scouting a 19-year-old player from Schalke. I forgot how to pronounce his name, and I actually don't have him in my notes at the moment, so forgive me. I doubt any of you know what his name is.
I heard it on the United.
I heard it yesterday.
I forgot now as well, and I didn't put it down yet. Damn it. Okay, I guess we can't talk about him.
I know who he is.
I don't know him. I've never watched him. I've never seen him in FIFA. I don't think that United are looking at that guy as a central alternative. I just think United are scouting him. Like, I don't think United has sat there in the office
yeah,
saying,
I don't
hey,
think
if we
United
can't get
are
Sancho,
really-
let's get this guy because he's going to help us win the league. Like, I don't think that's what's actually happening.
No, so
But-
I don't really buy into that story.
I think what Mark said on the United stand makes sense. The only way I can reason this is that they're trying to put pressure on Dortmund and saying that we will be looking for other alternatives. But like, that's on that.
Yeah, I don't think that makes a lot of sense, but I don't even think that's the case. If that, I just think United scout a lot of people anyways. So I just think United happen to be scouting another kid in Germany, and everyone's getting their willies out before they know the true
Yeah.
story. Like,
Just
I don't
leak
think
out
Dortmund
someone.
will look at that player and be like, oh, they might not sign Sancho because there's a 19-year-old at Schalke. Oh, let's give them the price they want. Like, I don't think that's actually going to work if that's United's tactic. You know, like if they're really scouting other players
Yeah,
in
'cause if I
Germany
was Dortmund,
because they don't want to get
I'd
held
be
to
like-
ransom, I think Dortmund would be like, go on then, buy him.
Yeah, I'll be like, go on then. I mean,
Yeah, like
Sancho is
I don't.
10 times
So
better
if
than
United are doing that, it's very immature and it's not going to work. You know, because
No, but I don't think it's the idea of it being another player who's as good as Sancho. It's the idea of United not buying Sancho at all. If you get what I mean.
But that's
no,
still-
I do get what you mean, and I think Dortmund couldn't be bothered. Like
Yeah,
I really
I
think
still
Dortmund couldn't give two craps. Dortmund wants Sancho.
Because
Dortmund
someone will,
needs Sancho
yeah,
to
and
stay.
someone will eventually buy Sancho if it's not United.
Yeah,
guess.
so I understand what you're saying, and if United are doing that, I think it's very childish. I just think United were scouting that kid anyways, regardless of the circumstances, because United scout young talent
My,
around the
yeah,
world.
My feeling
Genuinely
is if United don't get Sancho this time, I don't ever picture Sancho coming to United ever again. If we don't get him now.
I think so. Because I think he wants to stay.
I do. And if United actually rebuild properly and start becoming a big team 5 or 6 years from now, I picture Sancho coming to Old Trafford. Dependent on where he goes. Like if Sancho re-signs with Man City or goes to Chelsea or goes to Liverpool, then I don't see him coming to United. But if Sancho
What
went
I-
to Madrid, for example, I could see Sancho, after he's bored of winning the Champions League, coming to Old Trafford to win the Premier League title. I can
What I will
see
say,
that.
other clubs won't just sit and do nothing. If we don't take him now, other clubs will come in and be interested as well. So we will have competition.
Definitely, but I don't think the Sancho book is closed now. I don't, unless he goes on and wins the Ballon d'Or and he's too expensive for us in the future. That's the only scenario I see him never ever come. Or we stay where we are and he goes to Madrid and he wins Champions Leagues and then he looks at us in the Europa League 6 years from now. Like then, yeah, those are the only two scenarios I see him not coming back to the Premier League. But otherwise, I think why the hell not? If we do rebuild, you know. But yeah, I think. Oh yes, with regards to going back to Paul Pogba, just to end off the show, last question. And please don't say Ronaldo, because Ronaldo's the most obvious answer. Is there anything that Juventus have that they could offer us for Pogba? Because there's been a lot of rumors in the United community. You know, people are bored during COVID. People are bored.
Get Ronaldo.
And, you know, people come up with stories and people put nice photoshops and edits of people who are supposedly swapping for Pogba in the summer, which we know is not going to happen. But anyways, is there anyone that you would want in a swap deal besides Ronaldo?
If it wasn't Ronaldo, nope.
If
I
not
wouldn't-
Ronaldo,
I wouldn't-
no.
Yeah, if it's not Ronaldo, I could,
Dybala?
like in the world. Nope. In the
Dybala
world,
is-
I wouldn't trade Pogba for anyone besides Ronaldo.
He rejected us and he's been up and down. Ramsey, he's been a bit of a flop. Costa's old. Like Alexander.
They have a
Isak,
CDM that's really good. I forgot what his name is. It starts with
Pjanic,
P. He's really good.
I don't
No,
know
not
Pjanic.
Pjanic. B, not P. His name starts with a B.
Benedetti?
I think that's him. I'm not
I
sure.
don't know
though.
if it's a CDM, but I know Benedetti
either
is
way.
more for attacking. Yeah, he's
They've got a really good central midfielder that I would take. That is.
I
Yeah,
would
but-
take it.
The thing is, we're talking about Pogba here. We're talking about
Yeah.
one of the best talents in the world. So it has to go like for like. So I wouldn't, honestly. Rabia,
Well,
maybe a few years ago, we would have considered
No,
it, but now,
so the scenario. Okay, let me put it this way. The scenario is Pogba's 100% going to Juventus. Who do you take from the Juve team besides Ronaldo? Because that's the obvious answer. That's what I'm saying.
also
Obviously,
it happen.
sorry.
So it's definitely happening. We can't argue.
Yes, it's definitely happening. Who would you take from Juventus?
Jeez, my life.
If I was forced to choose one, like I was actually forced to choose one.
Yeah,
Oh,
I said Pjanic and Ramsey.
that's interesting. I wouldn't take Ramsey because I think Ramsey is just not good for what we're building. I would take someone who's young. Even if they weren't good at the moment, I would take someone
I would
who's young.
just take Dybala to be if I was forced to pick. But
Right,
realistically, I wouldn't trade Pogba for anyone there.
I feel like
Yeah,
I have
but
a
you see-
bias towards Dybala because of what happened earlier in the season. But
Yeah, guys, you know, I as the show host, I try to ask interesting questions, and people are boring on the show. You know, everyone wants Ronaldo. You know, I'm just trying to
You know
start
what?
football season, and these guys are
Offer
being
me
boring.
tomorrow. Offer me
That's why I
tomorrow.
said-
Ronaldo for Pogba. Go on, buy Pogba.
Yeah,
Check.
but that's
Boy.
why I
Bye-bye.
said, who
Boy.
would you take from Juventus besides Ronaldo? Because I knew everyone was
Boy.
just going to say Ronaldo. We're supposed to generate interesting conversations.
Right,
That's not
Ronaldo
realistic.
central.
Why would I sign Pogba? Oh, That's all I hear.
Yeah.
I
Because,
tried,
you know,
guys.
Pogba is like my second most favorite player in the world. So, like, you know,
Yeah,
not a
but
Ronaldo.
for the sake of the show, just answer the
Yeah,
question. No, we get it. You love
Dabal.
him.
If I was supposed to pick someone, I picked Dabal.
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I
Ronaldo
applaud
shut the
you.
Premier League down. He's arrived. United's going back to the top. Done.
The triple is ours. Same
Okay.
day.
Well, guys, I guess from the next few weeks we'll be talking about Ronaldo. I hope you enjoy the content, because you know, I try, guys. As the show host, I try to ask interesting questions, but I get the most predictable answers, and you know, it is what it is, guys. So
Okay, I have to make a move. If it wasn't for Dabal, I would probably choose Douglas Costa. Oh, Cuadrado.
Hey.
I think I'm gonna end the show there. I think I'm gonna end the show there, guys. Please leave a like. Ignore that last comment. The rest of the video is great.
But Ronaldo FC, boys. Mansions.
All right. Stay safe. Stay humble. Stay hydrated. Stay healthy. Social distancing. Don't forget. And yeah, please smash that thumbs up button. Until the next one, brothers and sisters, and anyone in between, I will catch you.